Hey everybody, this is Lawton Chiles. How you doing? I am testing out this uh, Ecamm software, and so what this does, if you can see me okay, is it allows me to share things like my desktop. It allows me to do a lot of different things. This is pretty dope. I can share my desktop screen, so if I want to share like apple.com, I can. And it goes and it shows me apple.com. And I'm here in the bottom corner, or I can move this thing around. I think I can move it. I think I can expand it if I want to. And then, so basically, this countdown is when we will go live. Let me just make sure this is working here. So this is just a cool little tool. It's a demo. So basically, you're not going to see what I see, or you're not going to. Yeah, let me see. So this is just a cool little tool. It's a So there's about a 10-minute delay, a 10-second delay between what you see, what I see, um, and that kind of thing. But it's pretty cool, and I can go back and forth here. I can click here, and this is full screen, so it's a lot easier to use than Wirecast or something like that. Obviously, with this view, you can see my living room. It's not as professional. Um, you can see this part. Just angle this down. And so sometimes the stuff gets blown out, with the light. Let me just get the light under control here a little bit. And so this is sort of how it looks. If I go like this, then obviously, even with these window shades drawn, there's still a lot of light coming in. I don't even know if that will really fix it. Yeah, it really doesn't. There'd have to be something much more substantial on those blinds because they're so old. It's an old home. But this is sort of how this works. And then you've got, you can share the screen here, again, with apple.com. So this is like, you share your whatever screen that you want. And then I can also do this with a pre-recorded video. I can get rid of this, I think. Yeah, I can get rid of that. Awesome. And then, hello, this is Lawton Chiles. Welcome to this video. Now, thank you so much for registering for the webinar, 3 Secrets on How to Use Frameworks and Formulas to Increase Your Product Sales, Webinar Sales, Email Sales, even if you're not a pro copywriter. The whole goal of this webinar is to stop you from using your brain. If you're looking at a blank page and you don't know what to write to make sales with email, with webinars, with Facebook ads, with high-ticket products, or with services that you'd like to sell if you're a service provider, like a copywriter or a Facebook ads agency owner or a consultant or a coach, then this is the training that you need to be on. And so you've done a great service. So this is awesome. I mean, you can see how I just totally went back and forth between a recorded video, my screen, and this right here. And then I think there's probably some like keyboard shortcuts here to go from one screen to the other, if you wanted to do that. And I'm just sort of messing around with this and seeing what it does. And yeah, so we've got default scene. I don't know what that is, but we've got my desktop. I can move this around. I can, make this bigger. So if I wanted to go big, if I wanted to go small, if I wanted to take this away completely. But I mean, this is pretty awesome, in the fact that it's all sort of customizable to what I want. Um, And again, this is eCam. So ECAMM. I think it's like $50 or $60, all in, once you start going all in. But I did want to show you something right here, and that is this video with, let me grab it here. I think, yeah, I want to show you this really quickly.
Kind of magical about a story structure.
This lady is Nancy Durante. And so who Nancy is she is somebody who does YouTube, not YouTube, but this is on YouTube. And so what this is it is a storytelling framework. And this is something that I'm going to be teaching in my inner circle this month in my newsletter, which is what she's doing is she is showing us two speeches. So the first speech, I'm going to show you just a minute of this, and then you can see.
That makes it so that when it's assembled, it can be ingested and then recalled by the person who's receiving it. So basically a story, you get a physical reaction. Your heart can race, your eyes can dilate, you could talk about, oh, I got a chill down my spine, or I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. We actually physically react when someone's telling us a story. So even though the stage is the same, a story can be told, but once a presentation is told, it completely flatlines. And I wanted to figure out why. Why is it that we physically sit with rapt attention during a story, but it just dies for a presentation? So I wanted to figure out how do you incorporate story into presentation. So we've had thousands of presentations back at the shop, hundreds of thousands of presentations actually. So I knew the context of a really bad presentation. And I decided to study cinema and literature and really dig in and figure out what was going on.
All right, so, and again, I don't have any copyright on this. You can go to YouTube and just type this in and watch it yourself. But really what she's doing here is she's showing two different speeches. So she analyzed two different speeches. The first speech is Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. Okay, so she analyzed this speech that he did in Washington, and so she analyzed this speech, and she analyzed Steve Jobs' 2007 keynote, where he unveiled the iPhone, and she saw a parallel between all of these. Speeches, the really successful ones, and really what she saw was that there is something in the beginning of the speech that shows that gets people to see here's where we are in achieving a problem. Like here's where we are with racial justice, or here's where we are with technology, or here's the problems that we have. So, and then at the end of that, sort of in the middle of the speech, there was this back and forth between here's where we are, here's where the problems are, and here's where the solution is, and what life could look like if racial equality was achieved, or if social justice was achieved, or if new technology like the iPhone was real. Okay, and so what she did was she analyzed all these speeches and she put this sort of roadmap in between. She took the speeches and she printed them out, and then she layered in this formula of of stating the problem and then what's the solution. And she found that that's all that these speeches did, was there was a tug of war between the problem and what life could look like if the problem was solved. And so that's what this month's Inner Circle newsletter is it's stating the problem and then like rubbing salt in the wound, like sprinkling the salt down, and then the solution, which is here's what life could look like if your solution was solved, right? If your problem was solved. And so she does that in two ways. One, she looks at this, she looks at the, she looks at this Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech, right? So she's looking at this speech right here. Let me make this smaller. Sorry. Oh, I don't know where it went. But she's looking at this I have a dream speech, right? And then the next thing she's looking at is she's looking at Steve Jobs' iPhone speech. So Steve Jobs 2007 keynote. She's looking at this right here, where he's basically unveiling what life could look like with this new technology. Okay. And so that is sort of the framework that she goes through is, and let me see if I can sort of go in here and pull this back up. What she's saying is, let me just scrub through a little bit here. Okay.
Commonplace of the status quo, and you need to contrast that with the loftiness of your idea.
All right, so you see this thing right here, what is and what could be. Okay, so there's what is, and then there's what could be. And that's really the emails that we're going to focus on this month is we're going to paint this picture of what is, right? What is happening, and then what could be happening. You know, so what are the problems, what are the frustrations, what are the failures, what are the fears of your audience, and then contrast that with what could be, which is here's what happens when this goes away, or here's what happens when this problem is solved. And really, that's really all that marketing is, right? Is we are, you know, we're solving this issue for people, and we're doing it. If we're doing our jobs, then we're taking them. We're really identifying with them in step number 1, and then step number 2 is that we are saying, here's what life could look like. Here's what life could look like. Here's what life could look like. Okay, and then that's really the selling process is describing how bad things are right now, or what the issues are, what the problems are, whether that's racial injustice, whether that's the technology of the iPhone, and then how are things right now? How do things look today? And so this is a great roadmap. I really highly recommend that you go in and watch this because you're going to be able to see here's what things look like now, here's how they could be. And through all this, he's using metaphors and stories and repetition. So metaphors is, Martin Luther King says the United States government has written the people a bad check, and the check has been marked insufficient funds, and we're here to cash that check, and we want it to be a check where everybody is created equal. So they talk about money. They relate this bounce check to the inequality of the American dream, the racial stuff, and all that. He uses storytelling and he uses repetition, right? I have a dream that one day, I have a dream that one day, I have a dream that one day. And then Steve Jobs does the same thing, right? He goes through this thing where he's like, we've been looking to this moment for 2.5 years. This is a special moment. So he builds this up in your mind. And then basically he says, we've created 3 new products. One is an amazing touchscreen. Also, it's a internet capable device, and it is a phone, right? And then he repeats it again. It's a touchscreen computer. It allows you to surf the web, and it's a phone, right? And then he does it again and again, and he's like, "Are you starting to get the picture? These 3 devices are one device, right? It lets you surf the web. It's a phone, and it's a multi-touch, whatever." So he basically repeated that until he got their undivided attention, and until he was able to use repetition. Martin Luther King did the same thing. So those are some things that we're going to do in the emails as well, is repeat the benefits and repeat why they should take action, and repeat what we want them to do toward the end. Because if you look at the end of this, really she's going through, and the end here is the end part, the new normal, which is here's what life could look like if this thing happened. Okay, and so that is sort of, sorry, the trash people are here. So this part right here is, here's where things are. So you see that right there. Here's where things are. Here's where things could be. and this is how she outlines it for us, and it's very powerful because basically what's happening is that you're telling them that she's basically showing us that there is a roadmap, there is a way to tell a story that convinces people to take action, and most people are not doing it, right? So I'll link this in the comments, and so you can watch it. And it starts, I wouldn't watch the whole thing, but around 8 minutes or so, 7 minutes in is when she starts going through this type of stuff. And this is really all selling is, and all persuasion is here's where we are right now, right? Here's what could be, and here's what is. Here's what is, here's what could be, here's what is, here's what could be. And then at the end, here's the new normal, which is if all your issues were solved, what would that look like, And so that is how she's doing this, and it's masterful, it's brilliant, and it's just, she's fantastic, and I think anybody can sort of take this and use it. So I hope this helps you. Hope you're doing well, and we'll talk soon.